Movie! The only movie I saw this week, which is kind of the only movie I've seen in a long time, actually, it was Mission Impossible Rogue Nation, I think it was called, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, there's all sorts of movies in that vein coming out over the past few months. We got James Bond coming out next week, and there was The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and that great Colin Firth movie, not Her Majesty's Secret Service, Kingsman the Secret Service, and so you would think that that kind of stuff could be getting kind of old, but I think a lot of these movies, even though they're in kind of a similar genre, have been really inventive, and every one of those I've seen lately, I haven't seen The Man from U.N.C.L.E. yet, but that's Guy Ritchie, so it's probably fun. They've all been really fun and inventive, and set pieces, the action sequences, I think about when I saw Mission Impossible 3, which to me was kind of just an assault on the senses, and I thought Philip Seymour Hoffman was fantastic in it, but besides that, I didn't enjoy the movie that much. But my wife and I saw Ghost Protocol in IMAX a couple years ago, and that was absolutely fantastic, especially the stuff in Dubai, up in the towers. And this similarly, Tom Cruise is getting old, and say what you will about his personal life, but man, that guy can act, that guy's an action hero. The fact that he still is doing his own stunts, you're starting to see the age on his face a little bit, and yet the things that he is doing in these movies is truly remarkable. And this whole, there's so many great sequences in this film, but I think about the stuff going on at the Opera House, which, in addition to the fact that you have a full opera going on, is really an impressive visual situation. I mean, of course, I think what it makes me think about is when I first arrived at my company, we were designing a theater called the Mariinsky 2 over in Russia, and part of that design was setting up these sight lines for Vladimir Putin to have snipers in the room. And the snipers weren't to be looking at the audience, they were actually to be looking at his personal box. So he'd have his private box at the opera he'd go to, or it's a dance theater really, but he'd have these snipers that are pointed at his box, so it's not for the people in the rest of the theater, potential assassins, it's for the people that he trusts most that might still decide that that's the time to kill him. So that was kind of crazy. Of course, when the theater opened, he was like, screw this, and he sat in the front row or something. But yeah, this movie reminded me a little bit of that. I mean, it was a little bit ridiculous to think that even though the, Prime Minister of Austria or something, or the Chancellor was at this performance, that security was lax enough that 4 people could basically sneak into positions where they could assassinate this guy. But it was a great sequence, and I was listening to Jeff Goldsmith podcast today interviewing Tom Cruise and Steve McQuarrie, the director, and also I think the screenwriter was there, and they're just talking about the making of the film. And some of the stuff was really impressive, especially talking about the underwater sequence, which, I mean, I'll say wasn't the most impressive thing in the movie, because you assume some of that CG and that, Tom Cruise never has to be underwater for more than 30 seconds. But no, he actually trained to be able to hold his breath for something like 6 minutes because of the takes they were doing. And a lot of that had to do not so much with having continuous shots, which weren't really there in the movie, but actually just being able to get the shots they needed because they were really limited in the time they had to do that. So that's incredible to think something like that the audience isn't even going to be able to really pick up on. Is still going on that process. So, long story short, I enjoyed the movie a lot, 4 stars with the confidence of 3. And yeah, again, Tom Cruise, very impressive. And between Edge of Tomorrow and this, this guy's still got it. And I enjoy him as a Hollywood person. Yeah. And this guy, by the way, really loves watching movies and television, and we try to turn his head away, and he will bend into every which position to try to, see what we're looking at. So there's that. Okay, cool, movies. Oh, and crack stuff, why not? I'll just throw in that this week I'm working on scripts for a feminism thing, so I was watching movies like Clueless and Super Troopers, and actually a lot of Animaniacs and Johnny Bravo, because we're talking about movies that actually have a good feminist perspective, kind of in response to everyone being like, Mad Max is the most feminist thing in forever, and then to be able to counter that and be like, no, there have been plenty of other things, so that's been interesting. Especially watching something like Johnny Bravo, which I remember as a kid was, just kind of a very pompous, kind of Elvis-y guy that thinks he's the bee's knees, and he's gonna get all the ladies, but he has an episode where he actually becomes a woman and has to like deal with walking down the street and a bunch of men basically catcalling him, and he learns a valuable lesson and sings a big song at the end called Girls Are Smart. So sometimes in this work for Cracked, it's kind of cool discovering this stuff that kind of reframes some things from my childhood. And then right now I'm working on a thing for Star Wars and the Hunger Games, so I'm kind of watching those movies. I'm still, you know, I didn't buy tickets or anything for the new Star Wars movie, and I think what's going to happen is if I hear really good things, I'll go see it, but I'm not getting my expectations up or my hopes up because A, not gonna let that happen again, what happened with the prequels, and B, if I'm honest, I haven't really loved any of J.J. Abrams' movies. I mentioned Mission Impossible 3, which, I think was the first big movie he did. I think that's why he left Lost, was to go work on that. And I mean, okay, actually, let me say, I love the pilot of Lost. A lot of that is Damon Lindelof, and J.J. Abrams directed it. That's really the only thing J.J. Abrams has made that I loved. I'm not a huge fan of the Star Trek movies. I saw Cloverfield and Super 8, and they're all fine, but the kind of magic that I expect out of something like Star Wars, I don't know if he's going to be able to bring it. I hope to be proven wrong. But we'll see. So, why did I bring that up? Oh, just to say that if I hear really good things about the movie, I probably will rewatch all the Star Wars films, which could be fun, because I haven't seen them in their entirety for a while. But for Cracked, just running through and grabbing the scenes I need. Yeah, that's cool. I think that's it for that movie stuff. Woo!